ever happen? I'm not going to ask that question. My question is, if it were to happen, and with all due respect to your former bandmates, do you think they would have the chops and the musical energy of the musicians that you have around you now?
Well, I plead the fifth. I wouldn't cast aspersions on any other musician's ability. I think Genesis, in all its incarnations, was extraordinary, one way or another. You know, an extraordinary school band at first, and then something that took on a couple of new boys, Phil Collins and myself. You know, you've got to remember these guys were incarcerated for 10 years or so together when they were kids. You know, and I think it was a very punishing kind of regime. You know, they were trying to produce captains of industry, and I think those guys who were with the original Genesis lineup, I think they were all being trained up by school to potentially lead a charge in the Crimea without flinching. Okay, so there's a strong sense of ambition and disciplinarian stuff and being raised to rule and all that, and then you get these couple of new boys, these couple of oiks, myself and Phil, who've not suffered under the lash. So there's a deep psychological effect. One is a wounding, in a sense, because it forces you to remain in the fetal stage sociologically. You don't get to talk to girls if you go to one of those schools. It just doesn't happen. It's a male-only establishment, and so it was a tough school they came from, privileged, but tough in equal measure. But I think it was an extraordinary band. When I first joined them, I advertised myself as a songwriter, having written no songs whatsoever. But I aspired to it, and I don't know if you think about this, but on the day that you decide to change your profession, I remember somebody said to me that on the day you decide to become a master chef, having never cooked a bloody meal in your life, you do become that thing. It's just, if you focus on where the end of the journey is going to arrive at, you will go through all of that. You've just got to keep going, and like Nelson's see no ships, I think. So, yeah, it was an extraordinary band. I think everyone would love there to be a reformation. I think that it's possible, but highly improbable. Okay, much as I would like it, and I'm sure a ton of you would like it, it doesn't seem to have been possible to get everyone focused in the same direction. Meanwhile, all I can say is that I honor the early music of an era when the band, although it couldn't get a gig in America at the time, we were in New York and we couldn't get a gig throughout the whole of the United States. John Lennon gave an interview and said we were one of the bands that he was listening to, which meant diddly squat at that time, because nobody could tweet that, So no one got to hear that until all these years later, and I'm telling people that was the case. So we still had to convince people that we were viable. I'm giving a very long answer to this because I know it's important to people. As I say, wouldn't it be lovely that if it happened? But I guess the band became many different things. And, my version of it and the Peter Gabriel version, I feel very at one with that. And when we do these shows, we tend to concentrate on that era of the band. So the next show we'll do, just to celebrate something I think is pertinent to that, we'll do the song that we thought in 1971, when we had that team together for the first time, we thought the best thing that we'd done was Fountain of Salmacis. So we're going to do that tune on the last show that we do here. So just to let you in on that. As I say, I can celebrate in your music is easier than putting together the original team.